all back. Here we go. Everybody's back. We're just going to talk through the whole show.
We got customers on iTunes and stuff.
Yeah. So
at the Wednesday night Republican meeting in Belknap County, I asked Pam Tucker why she wasn't thinking about running for Senate rather than for Congress, because we need a more conservative senator. And I was shocked when she responded that she has publicly endorsed Kelly Ayotte, who she thinks is our best chance for beating Hassan.
She's a little premature with that.
I told her, if I think she's probably going to lose anyway, and I'd much rather pull the handle to vote for someone I want and who loses, than pull the handle for someone I don't want who loses. But it seems to me it's our job, part of our job, to get a better candidate to win the primary.
Kelly Ayotte will lose. The only question, and I mean that as in, I'll make a large bet on that if necessary. Kelly Ayotte will lose. The only question for the Republican Party is whether it's smart enough to pick a better candidate in the primary so that it doesn't lose the general.
I am really shocked that Pam Tucker said that, and that points to a fundamental in her logic. I've said for years now, winning is only a precursor. It's what you do afterwards that's most important. And what we've seen out of Kelly Ayotte is not what I would consider stellar as far as afterwards. I mean, all you have to do is look at Granite Rock, and you know where we stand on this. And for Pam to say that, to endorse that afterwards that Kelly Ayotte has presented, gives me grave misgivings about her running for Congress. I mean, that almost takes her off the... And I like Pam. I think her history is good, but to go with the politics instead of with the principles, big mistake.
It's a Kasich move. That's what it is.
Well, no, it's just a political move.
But it ties into what we were just talking about, right? I mean, it's just more of the establishment as opposed to a principled conservative. They're going... I don't know, Pam.
Conservative. What is that, an oxymoron?
I'm sorry. I missed what you said.
There are some?
Principled conservatives? Or principled Republicans?
You just dissed the whole room there, Susan.
Now, boys. You know me, I don't give a darn about D.C.
Correct.
Okay? This is all great. This is all wonderful. But if we can't build a wall around New Hampshire and pull up the drawbridge, really doesn't matter. We get all this distraction looking at D.C. and getting our knickers all in a knot because we get to shake some presidential candidate's hand, when in fact the folks in Concord are the ones that make our lives bearable or not. We are faced with, make no mistake, Medicaid expansion being finally rocked into law, etched into granite, after the first of the year for two reasons. Number one, Maggie Hassan wants it behind her during her run. And secondly, because Papa Smurf doesn't want baby Huey Chris's fingerprints all over it. We're going to be absolutely ruined. We're going to be faced with a sales tax or an income tax. And I don't care what happens in Washington.
Well,
I don't want to move again.
No, you're right, but
we should all go to Texas, Susan.
Yeah. I think what we can do, though, is that since the Sununu family has heartily endured John Kasich, we should just continue to wrap Kasich around the Sununus over and over and over again.
We are doing that.
We've already done that.
Yeah.
Check.
Not enough.
But you are right. I think we all ascribe to the screw D.C., save New Hampshire, Susan.
Yeah.
But the problem...
I'm just trying to fix this. So that
but the problem is that what happens in D.C. does affect us here in New Hampshire because we don't get the right folks down to D.C. from New Hampshire.
Right.
And that's a big part of the problem. They keep bringing this stuff back.
Yeah, but we've got a legislative session that starts the first week of January.
Yep.
That's going to ruin us. Ruin us. Forget 2016 elections. Forget the first in the nation primary. What happens in Concord in the general court in the next 4 months is going to determine whether we have a Republican or a Democrat elected to the Senate matters or not.
Well, you're
Make no
absolutely
mistake, fellas and girls.
you are right. Now the problem comes up given the cast of characters have already been elected, and we've got the Jaspercrats running the Republican side. It's going to be very hard to stall it in the House. We already know that with Jeb Bradley and Chuck Morris and Nancy Stiles, and
It's not a tumor.
with the rest of those,
It practically is. That's the problem.
I'm working on
Go.
sound. Sorry, go ahead.
with the rest of that cast of characters, it's a sure bet in the Senate, even with the newest folks that we helped get elected earlier. But how do we? The only place to stop them is in the House, and how are we going to do that when we have a Democrat-appointed Speaker of the House with an R after his name?
I can't go stand on the curb outside John Kasich's house and have an impact. I can do that in New Hampshire. Okay? I can do that. I can stand on the curb in front of some of these folks' houses, and I can call them on the phone, and I can do all kinds of things, and I can get their attention, and I can explain to them that this is not a good idea.
Right.
And that if you want to keep your seat, you need to do the right thing. Doing that in Washington, nobody cares about New Hampshire. Come on. Per capita, first in the nation primary, just puts money into Sununu's pocket to give to Kelly, and it keeps us from being able to fund decent statewide candidates.
You make a compelling point about D.C., Susan, because one of the things that I don't think a lot of people realize about Washington, D.C., while the economy is in the toilet elsewhere in the country, guess where it's booming? In D.C.
Northern
They're
Virginia.
building,
Of course it is.
they're hiring, the money's flowing.
That's true.
It's a,
Hunger Games.
yeah, it's
It is the Hunger Games, and we're District 12.
that's right. Yeah, pretty much,
Long live Pan Am.
Yes. All right.
Yeah.
Dots.
But
may the odds be in your favor.
Having said that, Susan, we need to work really hard to elect a House and a governor that are going to stand up to D.C. and are going to reduce our own costs here so that we're not dependent on D.C. But
We take 40% of the state's revenue in federally laundered money.
Correct.
But we also need to send people to D.C. that will do less, even if they won't actually reverse course.
Yeah. I'm not gonna live long enough, okay?
All right, I'm not going to win that argument.
No, you're not. So, boys and girls, it just got real in all kinds of ways. Mm-hmm. And what are we going to do about it? This is great fun, but what are we going to do about it?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. We do have to call folks. At least I don't have to call as many folks because my direct representatives are voting the right way. I can depend on. They are the people that I vote for because I don't have to worry about their votes. But it's a case of how do we get to the other folks that don't represent me directly to get them to change their minds.
Bless you.
And I think that's the question for a lot of us, unless you happen to live in that district where they have just gone off the reservation.
Well, you just point out to them the error of their ways every day of their miserable little lives.
Or we just make it miserable?
Yeah, we can help make it miserable. That's what we're doing. That's what.
Remember, they only understand pain. So
Well, that's why I just applied a little pain to Gnomeville this morning.
Gnomeville.
The Gnome of the North.
For those of you who aren't familiar, that's governor.
That's our diminutive ruling class Governor John H. Soon Gnome.
Yes, he's the empire's representative to New Hampshire, the GOP empire, and he does their bidding and at the expense of everybody else in the state.
Yep,
And it doesn't work anymore, and he's about reached the point where he wants to dissolve the people and elect another.
That's right.
And now we're back to Louisiana and the importation of 6,000 Syrians. Yay, Susan.
Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I lived in New Orleans for many, many years.
You didn't say it right.
New Orleans.
Nolans.
There you go.
Well, she lived
Well-
there, though, for many, many years. She can say it any way she wants. I've
And-
never
and
been, so I...
The year that I moved there, and it wasn't my fault, although we probably could tag it on me, the oil industry collapsed. And most of the professional folks in New Orleans left because there wasn't work anymore. The oil companies left, the offshore rig guys left, support companies left, and you had a town that had nothing to offer except once a year go out, get drunk, and throw up on the shoes of tourists, because the tourists would be too embarrassed to tell their friends back home, and everybody thought Mardi Gras was a great thing.
Well, don't forget tossing the beads up to the balconies, I mean.
Yeah, if you pull your shirt up. But the thing is that doesn't sustain an economy. So they said, well, let's bring in a casino. There you go. Let's have casinos and the ability to take mixed drinks in a plastic cup out on the street, which should be anybody's right. I don't have a problem with that. But New Orleans is a place that lives and breathes on money laundered from the feds. Now, what do you reckon New Orleans is being paid to take those folks?
Mm-hmm. Of course they're being paid, but one of the weird things is, why would they pick New Orleans?
It's warm.
They just dump them off the ship. I don't know.
No. There's a reason why they picked New Orleans. You have to think about that for a moment. I would think that there's a couple reasons why.
Share.
It's been a Republican state.
What do you guys think?
Jindal, is it a knock on Jindal?
Well, I have a feeling that every time they pick a spot like this, it's for about 6 different reasons. And if they can kill 2, 3, 4, 5 birds with one stone, then go right for it. But if they're plunking in a whole bunch of people in Bobby Jindal's backyard, he's a noisy guy. I know he's on the kid table all the time for the debates, but he's a noisy guy. He might be an up-and-comer later on because he's still getting into this whole presidential thing. So I think they plant a whole bunch of people, and like everybody's been saying, they're 18 to 30?
Yep.
They're men.
Yep.
They are, by all accounts that I've read, they're religious. They're not like the people that are in New Orleans. They're not like that natural population down in New Orleans.
So they're going to demand an end to Mardi Gras, just like they tried to demand an end to Oktoberfest.
Well, doesn't that hurt the identity of New Orleans to move? I mean, it's all alcohol, it's all party, and for the most part, Muslims don't believe in that stuff. They don't like that stuff. They would want that stuff to stop. They would want a safe zone for themselves New Orleans.
I'll be happy to provide.
This is not a safe space. I repeat, this is not a safe space.
Well done, Steve. I would be happy to provide a fleet of rowboats for said invaders. Just after they discover
pierogies, come on.
Just after they discover that without the aid of any bureau, New Orleans is the place for alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, and maybe explosives.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and
which may be turned against them.
Well, it's actually warm weather.
That's true too.
And it's not going to impede the movement of folks across the South, out of New Orleans into Texas or Mississippi or Alabama or those parts, or even Mexico.
I hate to jerk the chain a little tight, but did you see what happened up in Michigan this past week or so, where it's not Hamtramck, Michigan, where the city council is now owned by Muslims.
Yeah.
And one of them already outside of
Mm-hmm.
Dearborn, and one of them already made an implicit threat against everybody else. We're now going to show the Polish and everybody else, because it used to be a high Polish percentage population, and a lot
Swedish
of people.
Too.
Sweet, I did not know that, but a lot of people went when they heard that, and obviously the PC police came in like CARE, the Center for Arab American Relations, kind of swept the street of that thing. But, we just have to wait and see what's going to happen.
It'll get ugly. People are going to die in the streets. Anyway, we're going to take a really, really short break because I think I fixed the audio. But we are not on Spreaker right now because that whole thing was messed up. Anyway, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Rock